roof of the Gold Sands is raised. Everyone here knows what that could mean to this football.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry to start it again as usual, but it was another snooze fest tonight, wasn't it? But listen, win's a win. We've got the job done. And nice to see you all here as well on the chat and stuff for a live one, first live one. And I thought I'd get a guest on with me. I don't know if any of you are going to recognise him. He has been around before. I'll see if you recognise him anyway. Sam Davis. Very weird to introduce you, mate. How are you? How did the free-for-all go?
Yeah, it went really well, actually, mate. Some really good opinions. Nice to see the return of a few people like Keith Thomas and a number of other brilliant guests like that. And really interested to do this show with you. Gonna obviously cast my opinion, but obviously see what people have got to say as well, because there are some performances that are up for discussion tonight, I think, aren't there? Yeah,
definitely. I agree, mate. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because win's a win, and that's all that matters at the moment. We got to keep plodding away, but it is tough to watch at times, isn't it? When you know the talent we've got out there. But was the gauge amongst the fans, pretty similar to that? That win's a win, but it was still quite frustrating.
Yeah, I think so. There was a lot of frustration, but a few people on chat like Andrew Roper and a number of others who were saying that, you know what, let's give Rotherham some credit here tonight, because they were actually pretty good and we knew what to expect from them. It was Tool at the New York Stadium and they did a number on us. They were physical, long ball team. You could see by the way they were doing their long throw-ins, the way he was winding up on the touchline, and they had a number of set pieces, but sometimes I think we were the architects of our own demise, like silly errors, like giving away that free kick that then how he missed that I'll never know. But we hung in there, and maybe, just maybe, 2 months ago that would have been a match that we'd have lost. Who knows? Yeah,
and I think that's a good point, and obviously we'll come on to him in a minute, but I was saying to you off air one night that I think that something that shouldn't be underestimated is Carter-Vickers in there, because you've got to remember we never had him at the start. Jason obviously brought him in for a reason, but could never use him because he was injured. And there was times tonight where I thought he's given us a little bit of steel at the back to kind of see these kind of games out. So yeah, we'll come on to him, but I thought he was impressive again. But yeah, let us know in the chat as well what you think of each individual player. We always get to start well because we get to start with Asmir Begovic. And Sam, again, a world-class save. I mean, and then another one that I think was offside, but the one he made for the top corner, what a save.
Mate, I love to see a keeper that will come and sort of take charge in the box. He did really well for that save that wasn't a save because it was offside, as you say, made himself really big. And then that shot that he did save, and he sort of, palmed it. It was a snapshot from nowhere. Many keepers might be cold, but he wasn't. He was on form, and his kicking's good. His distribution was exceptional as ever. Yeah, he had those blips a few games ago, like 2 in a row, but he was carrying an injury. Seems to be over that now. Be interesting to see what people in the chat are saying. And you know what? There's a lot of people sort of hovering around 8s. The best football moments there said 10. 8.
10 and 9, yeah.
There's a couple of 9s there as well, but you know what? I don't know, mate.
It's difficult one, isn't it? Because I'd like to say as well, as much as the big saves that we know Begovic done, I thought early parts in the game it was clear he'd been told to come out and claim things because they're going to put balls in the box. And there was a few times where he'd come out, he was really brave and punched at the ball, and you need that when you're going to be under the cosh. Like we knew it was going to be an aerial battle tonight. But yeah, I reckon just have a look at the chat as well. Obviously all high, which I
think an 8. I think an 8.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think it's got to be an 8 because a clean sheet as well. So yeah, solid 8 out of 10 for Asmir Begovic. Can't argue with that. Standard Begs.
Yeah.
Good to see him back. No rickets tonight. And to be fair, going into right back, I don't know what you thought, Sam. I think lately, probably since Woodgate's come in, to be fair, I think he's been a bit better, Smithy, and he played a key part in the goal, didn't he, with the assist? But I think there's a few. I think the Burnley one was Stacey. When that's where most of our chances are coming from. Someone overlapping down that side, and Smithy done it well for the goal, didn't he? So,
I mean, I'll be interested. Like everyone in chat, make sure you post your comments on Smith, your scores out of 10. And like you say, mate, I think he should take a bow. He managed to intercept that diagonal ball. with a header, but not just any old header. It was a forceful header that found Sam Surridge and set us on the attack. And what I liked about it was once he made that header, he could have just sat back and did nothing, but he absolutely went for it. He went hell for leather. I would love to know his ground speed at that point in time. He made the overlap, and that's one thing that I think has been missing from his game relatively recently. We saw Stacey doing it against Burnley, where we managed to create that goal for Sam Surridge, where Brooks played him in, and Smith. This season, I haven't seen him do it much, and whether that's the Woodgate effect or not. Yeah, I think also, but he went for it, and his delivery was good as well.
I think another thing is, we've said this before, I feel like I'm a broken record, but it feels like the fullback always plays better if Stanislas is the one in front of him. And because Stanislas is just, whether he has a good game or not, he's quite intelligent in the way he picks up positions and allows the fullback to go, in my opinion. But yeah, I thought Smithy was good tonight. I actually saw on the Bournemouth Twitter that he was in the poll for man of the match. Begovic wasn't. I wonder if that's because they think he always gets it. But they put Smithy in the free, and he was getting a few votes. Because I think he's had some criticism this season, and sometimes rightly so. But now Stacey's out, and we need him to grab hold of that spot. I thought he was pretty good. The chat seems to be between 7, 8, as a few 9s. I think we can go the same as Begovic, don't you?
100%. I think 8. 7 would be too low. And he had that bright moment. Begovic had bright moments as well. 8.
And he got the assist, didn't he? Got the assist.
Exactly. And what a good ball into the box that was as well. So yeah, I'm more than happy with an 8 for sure.
Yeah, definitely for that. Another one that was probably up for. It's nice to start quite positively at the moment because of the clean sheet and that. But another one that's got to be in for a shout for man of the match. I mean, we'll bring that in at the end and we'll see what everyone thinks. But Carter-Vickers, again, I mentioned it at the start. I think that this grinding out of results where we potentially maybe would have caved in at the start of the season, especially under that aerial threat, I think he's added a lot in there. The best thing I could say tonight is I didn't notice that we missed Steve Cook, and that is a big thing to say. But defensively, I think he's mustard. If we can keep him fit, he's just a proper defender, isn't he?
Yeah, look, if Jack Simpson is your kind of Kia Ceed, fairly decent car, but he'll last a fairly long time, but he isn't flashy. Compared to him, Carter-Vickers is a Rolls Royce. He really is. He's becoming the first name on the team sheet, becoming a hell of a player, I've got to say. Yeah. He's almost, as someone said on Twitter, a Premier League version of Miles Addison. And I just thought he was really solid. And like you say, that's the biggest compliment you can probably pay to his game, that we didn't noticeably miss Steve Cook. I think his partnership with Kelly needs some work. It's not perfect, but the man himself, I think did really well. I mean, what did you think of how he played tonight?
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. I think it's a real shame that Cookie's gone out, because I think in that Burnley game in particular, you could really see a partnership forming. And I just think you're never going to get it over the course of a season. But them two, if they had a whole season as a centre-back pairing, I think that's pretty strong. And I think we're noticing now, I wouldn't be surprised if Jason sat at home thinking, why couldn't I have had him available? Because I knew he was this, because he is a top player. And there was parts of the season where I thought, are we ever going to see this guy? And is he just one of them? But I thought he was solid, and liked him tonight. And I thought we'll come on to Kelly, but I thought he made Kelly look better as well. But he could be edging a 9 for me, and a few people saying that in the chat. Do you think he could edge, or do you reckon he's on the same par as Smithy and Begovic? I don't know.
No, you know what? Smithy did have that great individual moment, but other than that, he was same old Smithy, I thought. Whereas Vickers, I thought, was head and shoulders above any of the other defenders in terms of how good he was throughout the course of the 90 minutes. So for me, as Chris Edwards said, I've got a feeling we need to go for a 9 for him, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, because I think that's a good point. Smithy and Begovic both had key moments in the game, but Carter-Vickers didn't put a foot wrong all game. So, he was just brilliant throughout the whole game. So, I can't disagree with that. Someone that's probably been a bit, especially on these player rating shows, I reckon if I averaged it out, I haven't been able to do it, Sam. You might be able to do it with some sort of, editing stuff. I reckon if we averaged them all out, Lloyd Kelly could be one of my lowest rated players since I've started doing it, because he's just been so inconsistent. But I thought he played well tonight. He was part of a defence that kept a clean sheet. And he does look a little bit more comfortable, left centre-back, definitely. I thought he was better. I don't know what it is about him. Sometimes I think, oh, come on. Or he gets it and he just turns round. And I think, I don't know what you think, Sam. I don't know if it's whether after that lockdown, when we come back, tried to stay in the Premier League, and obviously Ake was out.
Yeah.
He was so good,
yeah.
And I wonder if he's raised the bar now, and maybe we're being overcritical. I don't know. What did you think of Kelly?
I think, during those 9 matches in Project Restart, he took responsibility. Whereas when he's playing alongside a Steve Cook, he doesn't really have to, and sometimes it feels like he coasts through a game.
Yeah.
His propensity is to sometimes, as you say, turn back and play the ball square to either Steve Cook or someone else, depending on where he's playing. A bit like Rico does when he lacks confidence as well, whereas sometimes just want to see him bomb forward. I think I don't know really what his preferred position was, but I think he did well tonight. He still concerns me sometimes. I feel we were a bit suspect at the back at times. Case in point, that free kick for Rotherham on 43 minutes that was floated over and seemingly at the far post. They had so much room to square it, and as I said, on the free kick, we put it over the bar. But also, I felt when a long ball was played over the top, where he's kind of running back and he's facing Asmir Begovic, I found it a bit scary how complacent he is in just assuming that Begovic is going to claim it. Sometimes it only just takes a leg from a striker, and it could go anywhere. And sometimes I just feel he does coast a little bit. So I'm sorry, but I can't quite put him in the same bracket as Smith. But some people have said, not quite a 6 for me, but Keith Thomas makes a good point. His pace often gets him out of trouble, doesn't it?
Good shout. Yeah, it's a good shout, because I think sometimes you made the point. That's exactly what I think. Sometimes I think I get nervous with him, and he seems to get away with it. And sometimes it is the pace factor, I think. But he almost like every game, I feel like he's playing like we're 5-0 up. Like he's just like, this is easy. And I just think, oh, come on. But I don't know. Yeah, he was part of that defence. He had a good game, but he wasn't as good as the ones I would say 7. Do you agree with that? I think the chat seems to average out at 7.
Yeah, I was going to say 7. So, if you're going by what I say, mate, 7. Yeah, 100%.
Now I just don't want to go with 7 because you said it. We'll go 7, mate. We'll go 7, boss. No problem. Now it's going to be harder, isn't it? I'm interested to see what the chat thinks of this one as well as yourself, Diego. And we love this. This is why I've had, Kelly's had such low ratings recently, is because we just can't seem to get this left back spot sorted. I've made the point before. It's certainly done help when you got Arnaud Danjuma in front of them, who doesn't really offer a lot defensively, and he's kind of like his own player, isn't he, Arnaud Danjuma? But Rico, at times, I thought there was one time we made a really good block, and he celebrated it, didn't he? Like he'd scored, which I like, and I do always think he puts a shift in. He makes some good blocks, and I think he cares, which I do like. Yeah. I like that he puts his all on the line, but the amount of times he gives the ball away is unbelievable.
He's a great interceptor of the ball. I think he's brilliant at that, and I think his stats also show that. But his distribution leaves a lot to be desired. I think Alex Deutsch on Twitter was someone who said his successful pass percentage must be in single digits, surely. And I found that in previous games. A number of times today, he almost just seems to play an aimless ball forward. But sometimes I wonder, is that down to, as you say, who's in front of him? Hard to tell. And let's see what people say over on the chat here, because
it's hard, isn't it?
6s and 7s, mate.
It's hard because I thought the same against Forest, when I was doing this, and I thought he was awful, and then I thought, but he was part of a defensive unit that kept a clean sheet, so I think he deserves credit for that, because he is part of that unit. And I think it's a good point with Arnie, because I think sometimes he looks up when he gets the ball and he's under a bit of pressure, and if he had a Stanislas or a Brooks or someone, they'd be coming to the ball and they'd be going, God, knock it to me. And Danjuma's, God knows where he is, so he's thinking, I'll just punt it then. But his interception rates are so high, in my opinion, because he's the one that gives it to him and then he just wins it back. But I'm tempted to not be too critical and go more 6-ish. Are you thinking the same? I know there's a few 5s in there.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking 5. I mean, Carl on chat saying that 5, poor passer of the ball without a right foot. But then, Charlie Daniels didn't have a right foot, but he was just exceptional with his left. I don't think it was that bad. I would probably go for a 6 as well, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, mate. Yeah. I think that's fair, because, like I say, he kept a clean sheet. That's his main job, is to be part of that defensive unit. Don't concede. So, got to have a little bit of credit for that. Into the midfield, we kind of went for the two in the middle with one in front. Lewis was brought back in, wasn't he, for Pearson? I know Pearson did have a little bit he was a bit of a doubt, so I didn't expect him to start, really. Always happy to see Lewis starting. But at the moment, don't get me wrong, I like Lewis Cook, and he does offer a bit of drive, doesn't he, from midfield, rather than just being that battler and scrapper. He can also get us up the pitch sometimes. But there was parts in this season where I was thinking, well, there's no better midfielder in this league. Lewis Cook is unbelievable. He should be in the Premier League. He's a different level to everyone in this Championship. And now I'm kind of thinking, is he that? Is he showing that? Or he's kind of floating in and out of the game. He's not really... What I'm trying to say is that at the start of the season, I felt there were times where he was controlling the football match.
Yeah.
And I don't see that anymore. I don't know what you think. Not that he was bad.
It's really interesting because with the midfielders, we'll come on to Philipp Billing, and it seems to be clear as day with him that he works better as a 3 and when he's a bit further up the pitch. And, with Lewis, I'm not sure he's as effective when he's in a 3. I thought today he did all right. He didn't do anything of note. He tried some balls forward, as did Lerma at times, that were just kind of hospital balls, really. I thought he was a little bit ponderous at times. Brilliant feet in moments. But other than that, there's certainly going to be no highlights reel of that. And no Lewis Cook every touch video on AFCB.co.uk is there. I thought he was okay, but none more than that.
That's what I feel. I just think he was okay, but then I almost feel like, but he was better than Rico. But it's tough, isn't it? Because he did do his job well, but I think it's similar to what we said about a few players. You just expect more from someone like that's difficult. If there was 0.5s, I think I would go 6.5.
Yeah, agreed.
So I reckon next one in the chat, the comments. If it's a 6 or a 7, let's see who we're getting.
Right, next person in the chat.
6 or 7.
Come on in. I'm really interested to see what they say. You know what? It's probably going to go dead now, isn't it?
Yeah, but no comments. All of them are sat there.
I'm pretty sure that Steve Henderson says better than a 6.
Give him a 7 then.
That's a 7.
A 7. I think that's fair because we gave Rico a 6. So he was slightly better, I felt, in the job he had to do. The man next to him, Jefferson Lerma, he's one that obviously I love him, but he started the season brilliant, went right off the ball, and I think he's improved lately in terms of he's got back to that scrappiness that I like about him. Do you know? I mean, at the end of the game, I would have just given him man of the match for the last 2 minutes, just because he fell on the floor, he wasted a few minutes, then he had to go at the ref, then he got the ball in the corner and fell over again. I thought, this is great. And I noticed that Woodgate come straight on the pitch and went over to him and hugged him, like as if to say, well played for that. But I think we can get more from Jeff, but I think he's, with him and Lewis, they both went off the boil. We know what Lewis does and we know what Jeff does. And I think Jeff's doing what he does better at the moment. I think he's really, you can see that. A new manager comes in, changed a few things. They're still never taking Jefferson Lerma out. You can see that. Woodgate's played him in every game. So without being spectacular, I thought he'd done his job well. You agree?
Yeah, I thought he did all right tonight. Again, like Lewis Cook, I think that he played a number of sort of narrow balls forward and sometimes balls over the top that were seemingly aimless, like over the defenders. So at times I thought he was quite wasteful, but I mean he is a rock. This one's really difficult for me because it's either a 7 or an 8. But you know what?
It's difficult because you know how much I love him.
Yeah, I know. I would say a 7.5, but as Neil Whedon says, from my opinion, I think probably a 7 for him today. I thought he did well.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think, like I say, maybe he was slightly better than Lewis, but not enough to have a whole rating higher. And it's a good point from you as well. I forget about that because he's so good off the ball, but I thought on the ball, some of his passing. So yeah, I think a 7's fair for Jeff. But obviously, if it was me, as people already realise in the chat, that I would have given him a 10 because it's me. I haven't hid that very well, have I? People are onto that straight away. Match winner. Match winner, Philipp. He was match winner in Woodgate's first game as well, wasn't he? Against Birmingham. To be fair, you alluded to it earlier. We've got to stop this with him sitting in a 2, with a Lewis or with a Lerma. He is, I think when we were talking earlier in the day, Sam, we were saying it's kind of got to be him or Wilshere. Because if you're playing them both, then one of them's sitting deeper, so he's got to play in the Wilshere role or not play. And he's so much better in there. And we said this a few times during the Premier League when he scored a few. He's better when he's given a bit of a license to go forward. and he took his goal well, didn't he?
Yeah, there are certain midfield combinations I just don't think you can have, and yeah, like you say, him and Wilshere, I don't really think you can have them on the pitch at the same time. No doubt there is a system that will probably make it work, but he did take his goal really well. And by the way, Junior Stanislas probably deserves a bit of credit for leaving that ball for Philipp Billing so he could take a touch. I thought he might have been a little bit ponderous on the ball, but he took a touch and he dispatched it really well. I think he's relaxed on the ball. He was breaking up play, and you know what? He's got a long body, and I know that is not seemingly evident by his lack of threat aerially. But what he does do, he often sticks out a leg, and because he's so long and sort of gangly, he always wins the ball back when he never seems likely to win it back. As that advanced midfielder in the 3, I think that's really evident. It's pointless playing him in a 2, and it's amazing how obvious it is, much better in a 3 he is.
We've said, there's been a few times where he's obviously got a lot of criticism, and we've said, it's because he'd only had a handful of good games. I guarantee you, them handful of good games are all in that role. So it is blatantly obvious now, and it's good to be, Woodgate deserves credit for that because he's only ever played in there since he's come in. So, credit for that. But, I don't know if did you see the little interview he did not long ago? The little article that was written up the other day, and it was really interesting. He was talking about things, and he was saying how he doesn't understand why he's not very good in the air, but he openly admitted that he's not very good in the air. But I think his relaxed style sometimes doesn't do him any favours. But there was parts of the end of the game he was pressing more than anyone, and I thought, fair play to you. He's obviously got the bit between his teeth at the moment, which is good to see. So is there mainly 9s? It looks like in the chat. To be fair.
You know what? I mean, I would have gone for an 8.5 if there was one, but in mathematics terms, if you're going to go 8.5, you're rounding it up. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with a 9, mate. Yep, I'm going to go for a 9.
Philipp Billing with a 9.
Yes.
Love it. No, fair play to him. He's match winner and played well again. So, yeah, deserves it. Can't argue with that. On the right-hand side, we started with Junior on the right, didn't we? Trying to find Junior's name at the moment. This is you that put these graphics up, so it's your fault if they're not in alphabetical order anyway.
Yeah, he should be there somewhere. I'm pretty sure he is there somewhere.
I can't find it.
I'll tell you what, whilst you're doing that, what I'll do is I'll tell you my opinion of him. And I said this on the for all earlier. Good man. He's not as effective on that side. He's not as effective. And like I said to someone, whoever it was, John Sparks said this originally last week. When he's on that left side, he can cut in on his right-hand side. Or he can do what he did against Man United, where he nutmegged Harry Maguire, went to the touchline, and he can do 2 things. Put him on the right-hand side, he can't do it because his left foot's not as good. So he's only really got and it sort of nullifies his game a little bit. So I don't particularly think he had a bad game himself, but I think the position that he was put in perhaps doesn't favour him. And when you see people like Danjuma having, we'll come on to him, not a brilliant game. He's one of those kind of like Marmite players at the moment where he can produce a bit of magic, but does it result in anything? Invariably, no. So you can almost see why Woodgate made that decision 2/3 of the way into the match to bring Stanislas back to his favoured side and put Brooks on the right. It's difficult. It's a difficult one because I totally agree with you. I think the problem is I can see why Brooks is being left out at the moment because he hasn't been on it. But Danjuma and Stanislas, it's both the same, isn't it? They're both good on the left, cutting in on their right and trying to bend one in. So you've got to play one of them on the right. But at the moment, I think because of how much the left back's struggling, Junior gives more to the fullback. So I would like to look at playing Arnie on that side and just seeing, because of his pace, Arnie could just potentially get past people and whip a cross in. Yeah. I would rather have maybe at some point in that game switch them and just have a look. Sometimes you can do that. Just switch them for 10 minutes, see how it goes. But yeah, I think he's far better on the left. But Junior's one of them players, you leave him on the pitch, don't you? Because if you do need anything, he can do it. And as I said earlier, with Smith, he played well. And I always think if your fullback plays well, the winger in front deserves a bit of credit because there's a partnership there. I reckon, without looking, most people are saying 7-ish. Yeah,
is that
they are 7. I think most people are, and like you say, set pieces, put Stanislas on it. If you got a penalty like against Burnley, he's probably going to score it. I mean, I even tweeted from my own account last week that when he stepped up to take that penalty, the ball was in the back of the net and there was only one person who actually entered the box. Not one Burnley player did. I thought the thing was to follow up. People know he's going to score, and Rico followed up to celebrate. So he's always a threat. and he has to be on the pitch for that reason, but more effective on the other side. I think 7's about right, mate.
I think 7's fair. Yeah, I think Junior's pretty consistent, but we just know that he can offer that bit of magic, and it just didn't happen for him tonight in that sense. But yeah, pretty good. On the other side, like you said, a bit of a, I think you said Marmite earlier, and that's probably right. He's just very hot and cold, Hardy, isn't he? I mean, I know the commentators were saying at the start, kind of, he looks like he's playing really well at the start because like everything's happening throughout, but really he's just blimmin' frustrating. I mean, one of the first things I screamed out was, Arnie, pass the ball. What are you doing? He ran the ball off the pitch, I think, but we know he's got that magic. We all said it at the start of the season. How many times, if we were to end up somehow, it's not like too far ahead, but somehow get out of this league and get promoted, we'll have to look back to them early games where he got us out of jail. So he has played his part, and he is still he's got a bit of magic in his locker. But at the moment, I would rather him as an impact sub personally, because I just think he's getting frustrating. It's freezing there. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, you know what? Really frustrating, as Donald says here. Not the same player since he came back from injury, and I'm just reading through some of these remarks here and some of the scores: 5s, 6, 7s, 6s. I mean, who did we give 6 to earlier?
Rico. I feel like he might have been worse.
Yeah,
Rico was part of the sheet.
Yeah, and I think Danjuma, sometimes he's not good enough or clever to adapt his game when he's got 2 defenders in front of him, or when he's not playing that well, and sometimes he just lacks that spark. So not good.
It might have to be a 5, mate, because I thought he was probably our poorest player. But yeah, I think that's a good point in the sense that we know he's got tricks, but as soon as the defenders work it out that he's going to get it, try and put it onto his right and have a shot, they work him out very quickly, and then he's just invisible. And obviously Woodgate thought that as well and took him off. So I think 5, fair, mate. Can't disagree with that.
Yeah, agree with
I have to remember that I'm going to come back on screen because I keep bobbing my head to the tune.
Groove into the tunes, yeah.
Groove to the tune. Sammy Surridge up. We all wanted him to start, didn't we? So I was pleased to see him get the nod, and credit to Woodgate, gave him his opportunity. It's weird at the moment, isn't it, that when Shane Long plays or when Surridge plays, he just doesn't take him off, because I thought he's definitely going to bring Long on in a minute. But what I say about Surridge is, same with Shane Long, they're not getting any service at all. No. But he puts shift in, doesn't he? He'll run through a brick wall for you, but against Burnley, he seemed to hold the ball up well and a few nice touches. Didn't quite happen for him tonight, but it's difficult with a striker, isn't it? How much of it was Surridge's fault and how much was it that he wasn't getting anything? He was part of the goal, to be fair to him, but what did you think? I thought Surridge worked hard without really doing much, to be fair.
Yeah, look, I mean, Rotherham are a very tall and imposing side, I think, so it was always going to be really tricky for him today. One thing I think he did well was chase down absolutely everything, and that was exemplified by that moment in the first half where it looked like a lost cause. The ball was going back to their keeper, and he went in for the challenge, and he forced the keeper to blaze it out of play. He is such a hard worker, and he will give a lot. I just don't think he had the service today. Individually, his touch wasn't as good as what it has been, but it's not a performance he shouldn't be proud of, because I think he did all right. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think it's probably the same as a few of them got with that 7. Is that what most people are saying? Would you agree with that kind of decent performance without being brilliant? But he doesn't deserve a low rating. Do you know what I mean? I think 7's probably fair.
Yeah. Stefan, feel free to give your own marks, and you're welcome on the channel as well, mate. I have invited you on before, but you haven't taken us up on it. We want you on. I think
we won, 7, by the way.
Pardon?
We won, by the way.
Yeah, we won. I'm going to go for 7. I think 8 would be too generous. I think it's got to be a 7.
I certainly wouldn't think I don't think we're being, this is obviously we're going off the chat as well, trying to gauge from there. And I don't think, when you give one of the defenders a 6 when we kept a clean sheet, I think we're being pretty fair, to be honest. We only made 2, didn't we? Because Brooksy come on. So, Brooksy had just enough time, did he really, to give him a rating? I suppose he did. So we'll do Brooksy. But who was the other one that come on? It was only 2, wasn't it, Sam?
Yeah, Brooksy came on, and, he was the first person that came on. So Brooksy had about half an hour, I think. Yeah,
he had more than I thought. Yeah, he did, didn't he? And then it was just Pearson at the end.
Yeah, Pearson came on for Lewis Cook with about 3 minutes to go also. But yeah, he did all right. I can't.
He probably kept the ball better than Arnie, didn't he? To be fair.
Yeah, I think I think probably. I mean, it'd be really interesting. I mean, Martin here on chat saying 4 for Brooks. I mean, Ethan's saying 5, Daniel 7, Brooks 6 again. I think it's a really tough one, to be honest, because I don't think he did much wrong. And like you say, he was holding onto the ball, which is something he wasn't doing very well at the start of the season. So he's improved on that at least.
It's hard when you bring on a player when we were just, at that point, we were just kind of going, you could tell straight away from the second half, we're just going to try and win 1-0. So he wasn't brought on to, try and win us the game because we were winning the game. He was brought on basically for Danjuma to say, Danjuma keeps losing the ball. Can you come on and just be a bit cleverer with it? And he kind of did. But then he doesn't deserve like the same as kind of a lot of the 7s, like a Lerma and stuff, because you think, well, he only come on for half hour. But then he doesn't deserve a low rating just because he come on for half hour because he's done his job all right. So I think 6.
Yeah, 6 is about right. And look, one thing I like about him is that he does tend to drift in, and we know he's got his left foot. He had a shot on the left foot. That he's done a couple of them where he doesn't look as though he's got the angle, and then when he pulls the trigger, it looks like he didn't have the angle because he hits it high and wide. But at least we've got that sort of option. Almost like Harry Wilson yesterday pulled the trigger for Cardiff in their 2-0 win. And whilst he wasn't amazingly effective, we know that when he gets in certain positions he can be, and that's the same with Brooks to a lesser extent. I think a 6 is about right, and Carl, as he says here, I think is bang on the money.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's interesting what you said about Harry Wilson. I remember a lot last season saying similar things about Harry Wilson. He wasn't playing well, and I was going, yeah, but you want to leave him on the pitch because he's just got that in his locker. And that's an interesting one. Would Harry Wilson get in our team right now? I think he might.
Yeah. I mean, there's potential, isn't there?
Let's keep our beat. We won.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's fair to say we've got to give Billing man of the match. He was the only 9 in there, and I can't disagree with that, to be honest. Is there? I'm trying to think. So I always try and think if there's anything after a game that you think you would definitely change for the next game. And obviously it's quite quick because this is a Wednesday night. So we got QPR. We got a blooming good result, kind of good for us, I suppose, if we're looking at top 2, by beating Brentford. So they're not going to be no mugs. Is there, interesting what the chat says, is there anyone, don't know what you think, Sam, that you would definitely change for the weekend? Because mine would probably be, I'd probably take Arnie out.
Yeah, usually it'd be take Rico out, put Kelly in, but we can't do that now, obviously. Probably take Danjuma out, give him a bit of a break. I think, Philipp Billing deserved to keep his place. I think he was really effective. Now, obviously, QPR play a different style of football than what Rotherham do, so there are going to be some changes and some that we probably maybe don't expect. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised to see David Brooks getting involved, and with Stanislas switching over to the other side. I don't think we're going to see Riquelme feature much again this season. I honestly think he's a player that is too lightweight. I know people are clamouring out for him, but I've yet to see him do anything of note in a Bournemouth shirt, apart from score that equaliser against whoever it was at home, maybe Derby County. Not for me. So Stanislas on the left, and then on the right, perhaps Brooks. Other than that, we might be seeing Shane Long over Surridge. I mean, it's a bit sort of either or at the moment, but Surridge didn't do anything wrong tonight, so I think it would be harsh to drop him. Yeah,
I probably agree with that. I think the only other one, potentially, just because I'm just trying to think of Woodgate, we've obviously got a small sample size, but maybe with it being an away game, he might go for someone like Pearson over Lewis Cook, potentially.
Yeah.
It looks like I said, it's a very small sample size, but like when we played Burnley, he seemed to really want that in the midfield, didn't he? And then when we got at home, he's brought Lewis Cook back in. So that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if he brings Wilshere in, which I'll be fine with, I think you've got to play Wilshere deeper then with Lerma. You can't take Billing out. What's the point of Billing going to get man of the match, being the match winner, and then moving him deeper? But I agree with that from best football moments. I think Danjuma at the moment is a player I'd rather bring off the bench if we need some bit of magic. Brooks, he's had his spell out the team now, so he knows he's not guaranteed a spot. Maybe put him back in now and see what he can do. But listen, Sam, it wasn't great again, was it? But it's job done, I suppose. And I don't know if we'll have Woodgate in charge. We're talking about who Woodgate will do. We might not have him in charge. Do you think we'll have Woodgate in charge?
You never know. Well, apparently, according to what Chris Temple said, there will be a decision made ASAP as to whether he'll be in charge for the next game, which indicates that managerial appointment might be around the corner. Stefan, by the way, mate, you're always welcome on. I know you've always got a more pessimistic view of life at AFC Bournemouth, relentlessly throughout all your videos, our videos that we do, but you're very welcome to come on and have your say. during any free for all. We'd love to have you involved, mate. Honestly,
we've had some really good debates, haven't we? Like,
yeah, it's been brilliant.
Everyone will know, I'm quite positive, and I was it was hard for me at times because I was trying to keep, sticking with Jason as type person I am, and now I'm back in Woodgate to do well, etc., and obviously when things got tough, but have good debates with it, and I always saw the points. I always saw the points of, with the change of Jason being inevitable and things like that. Always saw the points. The thing that's I don't want to be right about, but at the moment, I don't know if you agree. I mean, we grinded out a win tonight, which I think you mentioned at the start. We could have potentially drawn that earlier in the season. I take that point definitely. It's just that Woodgate hadn't had a lot of time to implement his style, so that's a fair shout. But at the moment, I'm still seeing the same things from the same players, and it's going to take. We could talk about, of course, I love Henry, Vieira. They're cool people, right? But we need someone who's going to come in and get something out of these players. And is the allure of someone like a Henry? All the players are going to go, I want to play well for him. Maybe, I don't know. Or are you going to need more of a Wagner who says, Wagner, whatever it is.
Wagner.
Say, I know how to get someone promoted from this league, so I'll show you how. And that could, or is it going to be a Pearson who's going to rant and rave? I don't know what this group needs, but it needs something, doesn't it? It needs something.
Just needs, someone to motivate and someone to, get us playing an up-tempo style of football. Because what I think the board thought, obviously the squad have got talent, and they thought that JT could just almost, kind of oversee it. But he couldn't. And I think it just needs someone who's more hands-on. Whether Thierry Henry is that man or not, I don't quite know. He had a very relaxed and casual style as a player.
He is cool, really.
He had the technical quality when it needed. And it worries me that he might have to shoot off to his Gillette photo shoot halfway through training and get that done. Hopefully that will be canned if he does get the Bournemouth job. But I don't know, mate. It's a tough one. Be interesting just to have a straw poll over the next 30 seconds of the name that people want in.
Everyone want your names in.
Wagner.
I think
interesting.
I think out of the ones we've kind of heard about, Wagner makes the most sense and would go with what I've been what my point has been of a CV in the Championship. That Huddersfield side was not that good, and he somehow got them promoted. How he done that, and then he kept them up as well. So I look at that, but then I can't help but go, Thierry Henry. It's like the kid inside me. So I really don't know. To be fair, whoever it is, the lads on the pitch have got to do more, in my opinion. But yeah, it seems to be Wagner, Henry. I mean, I'm trying to think. Doesn't seem to be. I tell you what, that manager at Barnsley. I think, was it on one of our watch-alongs, Sam, when I done the I put Bournemouth to win the league, so let's not talk about it too much. But I done my predicted league table, didn't I? And I remember mentioning about Barnsley that they're a team that we beat 4-0, and I thought they were really good, and they won again tonight, and they're just behind us now.
Yeah, scary,
he's doing a remarkable job, that bloke. And I think Neil Dawson said it on one of our pods. There are managers out there. No one knew that guy as a manager. There are managers out there. The manager at Reading at the moment, I think he had a very similar record to Henry in the MLS. And he's done amazing at Reading. There are managers out there. They don't always have to have a name. But Thierry Henry's a sexy Frenchman. I want him on the sideline.
Very interesting.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. Yeah. It seems to be. I think it's very mixed with the fan base at the moment. There's not anyone that everyone's desperate for. So I think in that sense, it will be quite nice because I think there'll be some for, some against. But I just hope that we all back whoever gets the job at the end of the day. But I don't believe, as much as some of the commentators tonight were saying about he's unbeaten, I don't believe they would have seen enough on the pitch to think we look amazing. I think they would think Jason could have maybe scraped over the line against these few teams. I think they're going to get someone else in. But I don't know if you agree, I would like Woodgate to stick around.
Yeah, I would.
Ship,
yeah, I would. And, he seems to have a very relaxed style in front of the media. And you can hear what he says on AFC Bournemouth TV to on the live streams to the players, and seems to be very vocal. And, yeah, I don't know, look, it's hard to tell. But at the end of the day, he's had a number of games which he's not lost. And there were sparks in tonight's performance to maybe give me hope. Not as many as I would want, but, maybe some good signs. Yeah,
no, definitely, mate. I completely agree. Kirky's coming with it, Eddie Howe. Don't let me dream. I'll always want Eddie back. But he was on. I'm going to have a look at a few clips tonight, because obviously we couldn't. He was on the Premier League game tonight, wasn't he? He was on.
He was. Yeah, be interesting to see what he's got to say.
Yeah, I'm sure he said some good stuff, to be fair. But do Just be the guest, Sam. And
That's
it's
okay.
a bit weird for me. That. How did you find it, mate?
Hey, I really enjoyed it, and I like the whole interactiveness as well of the live stream as well. So thanks to everyone who's been watching and for sticking around until what is nearly Thursday. So amazing. Thanks to everyone, and Tom, thank you so much for having me on, mate. Really appreciate it.
No, I thought it was really good, and cheers to all the chat. Like I say, really appreciate it, and yeah, it's quite a spontaneous decision to do this tonight. But we're looking to do different things, so let me know as well in the comments and on my Twitter and stuff. Any ideas you have in terms of player ratings? Just want to keep it fresh, and we'll get some new guests on and stuff like that. But yeah, big thanks to Sam as well. He's done a good job, didn't he? But yeah, on to the next one, boys. Come on, we can do it. Big win on Saturday, and then we can kick on from there. And va-va-voom. We'll see. Up cherries.